And let's bring Seth Davis to the stage. Everybody, please clap for Seth Davis, our next storyteller.
Hey, guys. So I'm about 16 years old in 1981, and my brother, Kim, 10 years my senior, impulsively buys a 1962 AMC Rambler with the intentions of fixing it up and restoring it. He takes me for a ride in it, and I could see it was beautiful at one time. And so we're driving, he decides to show off, and he hits the gas, and we hit a pothole, and it feels as if my seat drops 1.5 feet, and in an instant, bless you, the car is filled with this horrible scraping sound, sparks, dust, and I was afraid for my life. The car had been magnificent at one time, but now it's a piece of junk. My brother lives at home with me and our aging and infirm parents, and he's working on a long-winded philosophy degree, and it's kind of rough at home. My parents aren't well. My dad spends half of my childhood in a bathrobe or in the hospital. My mom's depressed, and there's a lot of fighting. My brother was a bit of a rebel and a delinquent, and so they fight about, privacy infringement and a lot of money trouble and drugs and alcohol, and it's really a rough time. And my brother announces a few days before he's expecting student loans and grants to arrive for the upcoming semester that he's going to be putting all of the money into a body shop where he's going to restore the old car. Well, this sends my parents into a panic, and the fighting just escalates. The thing with my brother, though, is that if you tell him his idea isn't good, he has a stronger resolve, very, very stubborn, and there was nothing I can do. I was just a kid, and he was determined he would have his fully restored 1962 AMC Rambler. Stay out of his way. But I got in his way by doing the following. On the Sunday night before that week that the money was expected, I took the key that I had copied, and I waited till everyone was asleep, and I got in the car, and using my rudimentary driver's ed skills, I drove it to a dilapidated waterside levee under the Throgs Neck Bridge. And my friend Brad and Alan met me there in Brad's annoyingly conspicuous Daytona 500 Trans Am pace car that his dad had bought him, his rich dad bought him. And we hung out, and we waited till the people in the other cars had finished getting high or laid or whatever they were doing and left. And then I walked to the car, and I closed my eyes, and I took a deep breath, and I opened them, and I poured blackberry brandy and lighter fluid all over the car, and I set it on fire. And then I went back to Brad's car, and when I opened the door, there was a burst of screaming, and they were crapping themselves because I had actually done it. And as we drove away, I turned and I took one last look at my parents' nightmare and my brother's dream burning there in orange and green and blue. My brother cried and cried and cried. And he swore to cut the throat of whomever it is did this to him. And my parents were, upset, violated, protectively violated, but sort of mixed, right? Because it was sort of a mixed blessing, right? And then about a week later, I'm sitting at the table across from my dad, and he just kind of asked, he says, "Do you know anything about this?" And I couldn't hide my nervous and increasingly guilty and very stoned smile. And he just made a million faces in a few seconds and went through a whole spectrum of emotions, and he finally said what he had to say, which was, "That's not okay." But we both knew that it was sort of okay, because considering considering this ridiculous and expensive undertaking that was just days away. and just how out of touch with his joy my brother was, it was going to be bad. And so I just chose a better bad. And I'm very, very sorry. I feel really bad for having caused my brother so much distress. But I think if he ever could listen to reason, and maybe now with so much time passed, he'd understand. My brother is a searcher. He's a philosopher and a student of life. He studies martial arts and Kabbalah, and becomes a Freemason, and once announces to the delight of his junkie friend Nikki and to the near demise of our Jewish mother that he's accepted Jesus Christ as his Lord and Savior. And he never finds love. The few women that he called girlfriend were prostitutes and junkies and still living at home. And he suffers roughly 20 years more, and then he ends his suffering with a heroin overdose. So I've had to live with this, and a lot of time has passed. And the way I've sort of gotten through it is by creating this fantasy, and I'd like to share it with you. In my mind, my brother fixes the car, and it's beautiful, and he's proud. But even more potent is that my parents are proud. And he goes searching, he goes out west, and he runs into another searcher, someone who's running from something and toward they don't know what. And together they ramp up their efforts, and they find something real. Something rusty and broken, perhaps, but real. Thank you.